Hello again and welcome to the Master's Voice. I am Celestial and you are welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you are very welcome. Please learn how to utilize the playlists on this channel. It will really give you great insight into many of the things that God has been talking about here. Russia and China playlist, supernatural playlist, covering fallen angels, covering giants, covering creatures of the old world that we have always been told are not real. These prophecies cover the natural and the supernatural. They cover things that are happening right now in our world. They cover things that we are just on the cusp of. And they cover things to come far into the future that not everyone may be able to see. Not everyone may be in that place, but God has shown me these things taking place. This prophecy is, I guess, an amalgam of where we are now and where we are going. This prophecy was received on March the 14th, 2023, and it is called The Era of Apps. It is not yet published, but it will be. So one thing that God has been talking about here on the Master's Voice is how are we going to end up in this so-called brave new world that is coming? How do we, as people who are here now in 2023, we know where we have come from. Some people have lived to see a startling rise and increase in technology. They were using the dial phones and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, the big brick cell phones were available. And then all of a sudden, the phones got smaller and flatter and thinner and more glassy and started to have more applications and more games and more things until now. People can't go anywhere without these things. It's a rare person that doesn't have a cell phone. It's an even rarer person that chooses to use a phone that is not a smartphone. Lives have become integrated into these things. And what have we seen? We have seen that as a result of our extreme reliance on things like Google and Siri and stuff like that, needing our laptops because they're integrated into every aspect of our working and waking lives. They've given rise to behemoths. They've given rise to huge, massive technology companies that have culled an extraordinary amount of data on us. They've built profiles on us. They have their little cell towers and stuff like that that are pinging locations every day and everywhere. And so we know that as we live our daily lives, we are inside a dragnet of sorts. But there's still the comfort of knowing that we have some choice. You don't have to download certain apps if you don't want to, and you don't have to participate in certain things if you don't want to. And sure, we have now come to a place where they're using harder and more controlling methods to try and make everyone comply. One of the main methods that they use that you can look back at COVID is just public shame and mockery. It would seem so strange, for instance, that the methods that they use in China to shame people. In China, they have these large billboards at the roadside that function on tiny little cameras everywhere that pay attention to people who are crossing the street. If you jaywalk, your picture is immediately you commit that. Your picture is immediately beamed by the cameras onto that big billboard. And then for a few minutes there, you're highly embarrassed. Your face is enlarged. Everyone can see you are the dreaded jaywalker. And so China has developed these very ingenious ways to make people not want to be shamed, to make people not want to be different, to make people want to comply. They also make life extremely difficult for you if you do not want to, because they have very strong arm methods there of putting people in jail and other types of punishment so that people don't think it's worth it. But now they have neighborhood checkup people that make sure that you're doing your little social credit core chores and everything like that. So how strange is it to see that God has sent us a woman that is speaking from his revelations, that these same methodologies are coming to the United States? How strange is it that God has given me dreams that I've openly shared here in one of the prophecies? I think it is called, if you see something, say something. There's no way you can read that prophecy on the Master's Voice or listen to the video and think that it's going to be business as usual in the future. These things that we have come to depend on will eventually form and inform the world that we are going into. And many times the Lord is simply releasing these prophecies to kind of pad the way so that no one can say, well, I didn't hear this, and that's how I ended up downloading the this and that app by mistake because nobody told me. God is warning us of what is coming. God cares even for the parts of the world that are not fully linked, the parts of the world that are not fully wired. I have said here on multiple occasions that the word that God is giving Africa is that they're not buying out and cutting down your forests for nothing. They are planning to put their little spying satellites above the continent everywhere else. Why? So that you can be just as easy to find as us here in Canada, North America, and South America, and Europe, where there are hardly any forests at all remaining. Satellites are not going to be able to look through the trees too well. And so they need to cut down those trees, and they need to tell you, no, we're paving the roads. They're not paving those roads for you. God already said when they come in with their big investor bucks and they start handing out laptops and they start handing out tablets and they start wiring all the schools and making sure that they have powerful Wi-Fi, they're not doing it to develop you. The Lord said, Africa, they're not doing it to develop you. They're doing it to underdevelop you, meaning they will develop everything and then they will just use it to finish people on that continent. And this is why we need to be on guard. The beast system is heavily reliant on technology, very heavily. And so that's a done deal here in the Western world. It's a done deal. People don't even really know where food comes from. They really think that coffee comes from Starbucks. And so it is what it is. The communities are reliant upon this technology, which is why I always say, if you have a problem reading the Bible now, when the grid goes down, you will be able to spend all your time with Jesus, because 90% of the things that keep you distracted function on electricity. When there isn't any electricity, you will read your Bible without the compulsion to check your live feed because it will not be working at that time. And so, the era of apps, March 14, 2023. I woke up and this is exactly what the Lord says. I haven't put this on the blog, so this is coming directly from my journal. Apps are coming. An era of apps far beyond what we have now. Right now, we have apps that are a mix of media, education, entertainment, convenience, work-based, and tasks. But soon we will have a world where the greater burden of all things related to our daily life will be transferred into the app and shut down in real life. I will say that again. Soon we will have a world where the greater burden of all things related to daily life will be transferred into apps and shut down in real life. Apps will be given incredible power and the ability to store the most sensitive data, your social security, and other very personal identifiers will be routinely required by the necessary life apps. That's basically just how it was put to me. Necessary life apps. These are apps that you will have to be able to continue to have normal life. So social security, your social and other sensitive info will be routinely required by the necessary life apps in order for you to access these services. Unlike now, where every time you download an app, the app makers rush to reassure you how data-free their app is. This means you will see something like this when you download an app that wants you to feel comfortable enough to download it. This app does not require access to your contacts, does not require access to your microphones, does not require access to anything important, nor does it contain any third-party data requirements or permissions. So the app will always pop that up and you look and see, oh, it doesn't need this. Okay, it doesn't need much. But he said the new apps will say with a very blunt tone, you must add your social and thumbprint to continue. Retina scanning is required. Please press the green button and speak your full name and date of birth so your vocal tone and inflection can be captured as your login key. Please note, some apps want you to put your birthday in and your full name so that they can work and it can be your app, especially more sensitive apps that want to monitor, for instance, a woman's cycle and stuff like that. So you can just put your initials in or things like that with those apps. This app is saying that the only reason it wants you to speak your name and the date of birth is not because it cares about your name and date of birth. It wants to hear you talking so that your vocal inflection and your mode of speaking can be captured. And that will be how you log in. So you could just say potato, banana, pie, as long as the machine can hear you talking and log, this is how she or he speaks. That's how you will get into that app. They will also say, lift your handset to your face, hold still for 10 seconds. This gives the app time to capture sensitive identity features unique only to you when logging in. So that's what I was seeing in many short dreams that I had that night, one after another. I can't exactly pinpoint what I was dreaming. So this is the thing. I can't exactly say I had a dream and I saw an app that did this. What I was having is just a series of streaming short dreams in which I saw that the entire society functioned on apps. It was all about apps. Everything was in the app. Everything was data-based. Everything was in the cloud. High dependence on apps instead of apps only being something that a person can use because they prefer it. You use Twitter because you prefer it, or you use maybe you deal with your library instead of going into the library all the time. You handle your takeouts and everything through the app. The app is your preference for how you get food delivered to your house. No, it was no longer preference based. It was now a way of life. Uniformity in the world that I saw will be the way of life. So I have always said that in this world that I see coming, no one is interested in individual ability. And I spoke of this in 2021 when I made the videos on, I think I made 2 videos on the coming world of the social credit score. In that world, uniformity is highly prized. And I always call it the world of the gray onesie, because when you watch futuristic movies, they always have us in these things that look like they were made of curtains, that are made of either gray material or off-white material, and everyone is wearing the same boring robe. Uniformity, and the state will decide where skills are assigned. So it's not like, oh, I have a dream of being a doctor and I'm going to dream. No, they're going to be extremely, please listen, there's going to be extremely rigorous aptitude tests. And only the best of the best of the best of the best of the absolute best will be chosen to enter the medical field. It is going to be like that program, I think, called Divergent, where they just look for your inner talent and then put you in some color-coded tribe or something like that. I think that's what that was about. So high rigorous testing to find those most skilled. And you will take these tests. Every child will reach the age where you take the aptitude test. And then if you go and score amazingly and your skills are high in this quantum field or whatever, then that's what you're going into. It is not a dream-based world. It is no longer, I really want to be this and I really want to be that. All of that is going to be phased out. So all this fashion designer, hair designer, artistry, all these things are going to be put out. It is a world of monitoring. It is a world of pills. It is a world of controlling emotions. It is a world of doping people into a stupor. It is a world where, as God says, people will not even remember what they're hearing and watching now. How astonished I was for God to tell me, yes, continue to labor in the field and pour your heart out, but know that some of these people watching you, if they saw you again, they will not even recognize your face. They would have lost all the data. It will all be gone. And it's not necessarily those people's fault. Why? Because I just explained in a previous video today that a different kind of world is coming to try and cap over this world. And you will need extraordinary immersion in the presence and the person of God to be protected. You do not have to start stressing out and crying and saying, oh, Lord, I don't want my mind to be wiped and things like that. Just go to him and tell him, Father, I do not want to be captured in that dragnet. I do not want to lose my mind. You must pray over your mind. People treat intelligence as if they own it. I know it sounds weird. You don't own your brain. Everything you have is a gift. It is all gift. You own nothing. God is the only one who can tell you that you own nothing and you should be happy. Everything that you have is gift. I pray over my mind. I commit it to the Lord. I pray over my eyes. I commit them to the Lord. I commit myself to the Lord so that he can keep it. Whatever you give God, he will keep. Anything that you think you can keep because you have a Harvard degree and whatever, well, more power to you. Let's see you compete with that cloud that is coming. And so this will be a world where uniformity is highly prized. And this messaging will constantly come out to us. Did you see anyone trying to pick a flower today? The flowers are for looking at. If you see anyone picking flowers, let us know on the flower reporting number, or just use your app. This is what is coming. So these kinds of apps, high dependence apps, that people think now are very invasive, and people are going on tech forums and making these very insightful YouTube documentaries and exposing. I was a Facebook insider, I was an Instagram insider, I was a Twitch insider, and you should avoid this because it does this to your children and it does that to your children. Well, in the future, it will be the only kind of app that we get. This is what God was telling me. We will be living in a dragnet. A dragnet is a big, strong net that you just run through the ocean and you just grab everything now. You're just picking up the bull sharks along with the tuna, along with the octopus. You're just picking up the crabs and even grabbing coral. You're just pulling it and grabbing a whole mix without care. God says we'll be living in a dragnet that requires us to download certain software in order to proceed to the next stage of daily life, and everyone will be asked to get it. So when banks and foods and healthcare become fully digitized, it will be a different world. These things are not fully digitized now, but he said that they will be. Even if your grocery store for now has an app, many of these grocery stores, they have a helpful app where if you sign up for the app, they give you coupons, they take something off what you're paying each time, or if you buy 10 times, then they take $50 off or something like that. And the hospital may have an app just to let you see your results and things like that. I'm talking about here in North America, we have that. But these things aren't essential. If you don't want to use the hospital app to see your results, you can just call the doctor and he's still obligated to talk to you on the phone or let you know what the results were at your follow-up. But they are going to digitize this thing to the max, whereby to get access to your own information, your own money, everything, you will be forced to interact with the app. And the Lord was telling me that when future separation occurs, when eggs go back to the normal price, but on the app, there will be $150 for all who use the app. But for all who refuse to get this app, real inflation in those days will have the eggs sitting at $22 or $30. And you who are a non-app user and who doesn't own chickens will buy them at that inflated price, while everybody with the app will be grabbing them at the heavily subsidized state price of $1.50. And the Lord was saying that we will then understand what he meant when he said that every aspect of modern life is being weaponized to kill the use of cash and bring in this digitized world that highly favors the beast. And so that is the prophecy. And I did mention, just a moment, please. I did mention today about an old prophecy. It's actually from the 25th of December, 2020, and it's called the Vax Booths. I'll just use that, the Vax Booths. And it was a dream where I was heading out to the farmer's market to meet friends. So I was going to the farmer's market and I thought I was just going to go there, and meet my friends. But instead, they were in line at the farmer's market about to get a whole schedule of vaccines. And I was like, who goes to the greengrocer to get that kind of thing? But they were doing public awareness for the public there. They were doing full awareness for the public there. And you could just walk in, buy fruit, buy everything, and then go stand in the line and get everything. And there was an app. And I signed up for the app. And when I opened it, I saw my name, my address, and an appointment time for me to go to that farmer's market because I already had a place in line. And I said that I saw many different schedules of inoculations. And each one of them had a band on them to show, I guess, how potent they were. And most of the inoculations in that thing had were in the red spectrum. So it was different shades of crimson, maroon, deep burgundy, and deep violet, and navy blue, and just plain old red. Most of these things were like that. And there were only one or two that had a green line or a light blue line to show that these are relatively harmless. But the fact is that all these things had been transferred into an app. And you could basically just go in there and say, oh, I haven't had this yet. Or, oh, my mom forgot to give me this when I was a child. I should probably drop by the supermarket or drop by the pharmacy or just drop by that old gymnasium where they're using it as a place to give inoculations, and do that. And so God was showing me that even then we are going to a place. Let me go there. Said we are going to a place where they're going to give us more and more control by handing us these apps. And what he was showing is that it will be very easy to be swept into the use of these apps. This is all the way back in 2020. It will be very easy to be swept into the use of these apps because peer pressure will make it seem like you have to have the app, and everyone has the app. And why don't you have the app? And this is bringing to mind yet another prophecy of what the future things will look like. And I had this dream, I think it would be about 2018, long before they had this thing that is called Quest, or, the headphone things. And I dreamt, it may not even be it, because here is the thing that I dreamt of. I dreamt that there was a headset, not exactly to put on your face, just a headset. It may have had a helmet, but I'm not sure. But this headset, everybody had the headset. And the reason everybody had this headset is because this headset made you smart. No way to get away from it. This headset imputed to the user high-level intelligence. And so in the dream, I got a phone call from my cousin, and he said to me, hey, do you have your goggles yet? Yes, it was goggles. He said to me, do you have your goggles yet? And I said to him, what goggles? And he said, how can you not know about this? Everybody has this. And he was looking at me through the phone. So it was not like a video call. It was like a call, but he could see me. And I remember thinking in that dream, what kind of world is this where people can just call you and see you, and you then have to look dressed up and cleaned up all the time because you don't know who's going to call? But anyway, he could see me, and he's like, yeah, you don't have goggles. And I said, well, how do you know I don't have goggles? And he said, I just know. You don't. I'm going to send you a pair. And he sends me this pair, and it arrives by delivery service, and I open them and I put them on. And when I put these glasses on, I went outside in the backyard to try them out. And I shared in that old video that, believe it or not, the grass was like the grass in that movie Gladiator. The grass was normal grass. It was normal grass cut short. But when I put these goggles on, the grass was tall, like fields of wheat, and it was green, and it was going shoo, 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 as if it was trying to talk or communicate or whisper. I mean, those goggles turned the backyard into Field of Dreams. And I was thinking, what is this? And then while wearing the goggles, I began to get so much inspiration for a book that I was writing. Inspiration for the book began to pour into my mind. Whether it works with the natural abilities you have already, I don't know, or if it gives you abilities, I don't know. But the book literally began writing itself in my head. And I thought, no way, I have got to get into the house and get this stuff down. And I was seeing how in that dream, these things will have such a potent draw. And this is just God tying it together, because if you watch the 3 videos that I've made today, you will see that each one simply hugs and cradles itself into the next. And this is the Holy Spirit that is doing this. He is extremely cohesive. He is the one who just puts these things together, and then he just begins to let flow and let flow and let flow to his people. They will be so attractive. Who doesn't want to be smarter? Who doesn't want to get over writer's block? I went in the house to say, no, I've got to get this good stuff down. But that grass that was outside, the grass was flat in real life. That grass was coming up to almost hip height, and it was green, and it was waving exactly like Russell Crowe at the end of Gladiator. And I was just thinking, what form of thing does this? I think I had that dream the same night or a few nights around the time I had the money down the drain prophecy. And that was in 2018. That was in 2018. I had that dream. So the Lord has been showing these things. The Lord has been showing that in the future they will have these doors. The doors are just bounded around with light. The doors are bounded with it is almost like the piping, the neon piping, but it is actually integrated into the door. And when the door is open for use, then the light around the door will be this blue that I said I have been seeing for so many years. Blue, a very beautiful royal type lighter indigo blue, and it's around the door. And when you see the door blue or you see the door green, then it means you can enter into the door is unlocked, you can go through. But then if you see that the door is red or orange, then the door is not available to go. You will have to have a swipe pass or an entry pass or a code to get through those doors. I've spoken in the prophecy that is called Designer Finance, that I saw people banking in the future and pods like a podium grew up out of the ground. So you went to the bank, and when you got there, some kind of podium grew up out of the ground. Sometimes they were white clear plastic and sometimes they were black. So the black ones were already fixed there, but the white clear plastic comes from this component that is like, it's like the mold they give people to put in your mouth to press your teeth. It is very pliable and it's moving and it's living. And so when you come, it senses you, and then the thing grows up out of the ground and it forms a console. And you don't do numbers and things like that. You just put your palm. In that prophecy, God was telling me, no, Celestial, the time is coming where they will say that even your fingerprints are not safe. This thing that we have always been told traditionally, oh no, it's impossible to fake your fingerprints and your fingerprints are so reliable. They're going to tell you, oh no, fingerprints are not reliable anymore, because this is a world where those in charge change the goalposts all the time, and we constantly go around along with it and let them. So they will suddenly tell you that you're one secure fingerprint and no two individuals have the same. They don't even match on both hands. Even your twin doesn't have the same. They will suddenly tell you, oh no, science has proven, because you know science, it's always out there proving. Science has proven that the fingerprints are not safe anymore. Your fingerprints can be hacked. And the only way to really be sure is your palm is so big that it's the biggest part of your hand. So we now need the palm scanning. And so I saw that it was palms that they were using. And the console was coming up and they were gathering teeth. They were gathering your bite, indentation of your bite, and you would take that thing off. And when you put something in your mouth and take it out, what goes along with it? All the saliva that the cops wish they could get for free is on that thing. And you put it, bite on it, and it would come out and go right back into the wall. Just suck back into the wall, and a fresh piece would just drop out dangling on a string for the next person to come and sign up. So these are just the thing. Either I'm reading books that haven't been written yet, or I am bringing to us real time the messages that the Lord is giving to us, because the Lord wants us to know and understand something. So I'm Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice. Please feel free, if you want to subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, you'll be able to see the community page. I do good teaching there. I share as the prophecies are being fulfilled, things that are happening, little bits happening here and there, such as, for instance, the ongoing tit for tat between the United States and Iran. Just a moment, please. I just mentioned that prophecy recently, just a few weeks ago, when I was talking about war coming to the United States, war between Russia and China and the United States, whereby America will be ganged up on by these two countries. And I've been speaking about that for years. The Lord started showing me those things in 2015. But there was a prophecy that came, and it is called the cockfight. And this prophecy was received June the 30th, 2019. And I said that I saw that the United States and Iran are going to fight. And then I heard the word squabbles. And then I heard another word, quarrels. And then I saw that they first started with a war of words, making louder and louder threats against each other. And then I saw two fighting roosters leaping and fighting and trying to get the better of one another. And I saw that Iran would strike America, that they were going to strike America and draw blood. And here is what the Lord showed me. From the Persians, this is the Iranians, I saw a fierce determination not to be beaten, not to be sidelined, and not to be disrespected any longer. But I saw that America was doing her usual bravado, but she was actually shocked. She didn't think that Iran would have the guts to fight her. She didn't think that they would actually be able to lay a hand on her, but they did, and they drew blood. And I saw that whatever came of the quarrel between them, there was no clear winner. But in terms of points gained, the points in the match were attributed by other nations to Iran. So nobody will see what happens between America and Iran and then say, oh, America got on top, because Americans came on the news as always and said, well, we're defending ourselves, and if they do it again, we'll defend ourselves again. It's incredible that you will leave your country and go and squat all around the world like a colossus where you don't belong, and then say you are defending yourself when you are actually in places that nobody asked you to be. So the other nations awarded points to Iran. The other nations thought that Iran was the clear winner, and I saw that after this fight, Russia was trying to act like they weren't paying attention, and China was paying close attention. But after the fight, I saw that Putin will be one of the first people to call the Iranian leader and congratulate him on the effort. And when I saw this that had happened recently, the Lord told me, this is the beginning, but this is not it. Just like I said a few weeks ago in that same prophecy concerning war, that the Lord says that Damascus will be destroyed from being a city. And God sometimes just brings up President Assad and says that America and that man's country are going to properly fight. And when they properly fight, that is when that Damascus prophecy is going to be fulfilled. So things are happening, and the people of God in the midst of this are being tasked with things that they've never had to consider before. How are you going to raise your family in the time? Some people are already running out of gas and saying, well, this is not the time to have a family. Well, if that is your faith, then be it unto you according to your faith. If you do not have the stamina and the faith to actually have a family, then it is better you don't have one, because you will absolutely and surely flake on them when they need you most once things get going. But if you already have a family, or if you're planning one, this is not the time to faint. You must go forward. I always say to people when I'm mentoring them, there is a reason that your feet don't face behind you. They face forward for a reason. They are one of the clearest signs from our Creator that the only way forward, the only way for humanity is forward. We have to go forward. If you suffer a loss, if you lose a loved one, if you lose a relationship, if you lose your job, you can only stay stagnant for so long. The only way left is forward. And so this is why these things will pull skill out of us. They will pull prayer out of us. You will pray. You may not pray now. You may be looking and thinking, well, I'm just going to test these prophecies and test all things. The day is coming, sister. You will not test nothing. You will pray like even your great-grandparents never prayed during the Great Depression. You will pray prayers you did not know that you were capable of. You will wake up in the midnight hour and pray. Nobody will have to tell you. The times will pound prayer out of us. So my only suggestion is you might as well get started now and keep going forward. This is Celestial with the Master's Voice. You're welcome to subscribe to the channel. You can share prayerfully and thoughtfully with others, and do not be discouraged when they do not want to hear what you have to say. These are the last days. Mockers and scoffers and just unbelieving people are going to be the main group that's there. You cannot be discouraged, because there are still souls to save. There's still work to do, and the sun is still up. So God bless you, and until I see you again, goodbye.